This air turbine has been flying over 4.5 years. What could be causing this to happen? Let's troubleshoot. The first step in troubleshooting is to check if you have power going from your batteries up to the wind turbine. We're going to use a voltmeter to check. Here I've opened the distribution box. In the middle, there's a fuse that goes between the battery and the air wind turbine. On the right, as you see here, there's a stop switch for the air. Right here, there's a cable that goes directly to the battery positive. First, I'm going to give it a gentle tug and I'm going to make sure that that connection is tight. The cable's not loose at all there. Now I'm going to check on the other side of the fuse. This is going to the wind turbine. That's pretty tight too. There's no play, not coming out. Now I'm going to carefully check on the stop switch, make sure these connections are tight. Okay. Those feel tight too. Now I'm going to check the voltage. This is from the battery, so I'm going to try to make it so you can see here. Okay. And now this is to the negative of the battery. Okay, we've got 23.5 volts from the battery. Now I'm going to leave my negative on the stop switch and check the other side of the fuse. Alright, it's in there and we have 0 volts. So what that tells us is there's a blown fuse. Okay, I've replaced the fuse. Now let's see if we've got voltage on both sides of the fuse. So put my positive here, my negative on the stop switch. Okay, we got 23.5 volts. That's good as expected. And other side, 23.5. Okay, replace the fuse and we got it on both sides now. What happens if your connections are good and you've got power up to your air turbine? Unfortunately, that means there's probably something wrong inside the turbine. You're going to have to take it off your tower and perform the bench tests. It's important that your air turbine be off the tower and isolated from your system to perform this bench test. First test is to take the 3 leads, make sure they're not touching each other or anything else, and give the rotor a flick of the wrist. See how it spins free? It doesn't stop right away? This is how it should be. Now twist the 3 leads together so that they're all making good contact with each other. I'm going to give it a little bit better twist. And do the same with the rotor. Give it a flick of the wrist. And see how it's much harder to turn? There, you should notice a definite difference. The second test involves connecting your air turbine to the battery. Whenever you connect it to the battery, just double check with a voltmeter, make sure you have the correct polarity on your cables. Here the red is supposed to be positive, so I should get positive voltage when I do this. And I do, so that polarity is correct. Now I've got the turbine connected except for the black. Here's the second test. See the LED come on? It's going to give you 2 blinks, and that's how it should look. For this third and final bench test, we're going to leave the turbine connected to the battery and use a 5/16 inch hex key bit to spin the rotor with a drill. Once we get the RPMs up high enough, the LED should come on, as shown here. This is how it should look. You might notice that the rotor shakes a little when you spin it. That's probably because your drill's not perfectly perpendicular, so don't worry about that. Please see below or contact Primus Windpower for how to interpret the results of these tests.